from our mid-30s, our bone density starts to decline, as does our muscle mass. You can counteract that with a brilliant strength and conditioning program, but women can't move. And I know that you'll be like, what? What do you mean women can't move? We have never been taught how to lift well. So you can't just bash them into a CrossFit space and expect them to be able to get the most out of that training. We have to be training people how to move brilliantly.
When it comes to menopause, again, there's a disconnect between medical advice or maybe what women see online as what they should be doing. For instance, I've read that, strength training, eating more protein, doing some HIIT can be really beneficial through the perimenopause. What's your kind of takeaway tips, Baz, in terms of what women who are approaching this period of their life should be prioritizing in terms of those big rocks for optimal health and performance and well?
Yeah, like what you've just said, but they're going to be 45. They might be overweight. They might have hip injuries, knee injuries. They'll have pelvic floor issues. They might have breasts that hurt every time they do a star jump or a burpee. So you've got this advice, which is absolutely correct. So from the age of, from our mid-30s, our bone density starts to decline, as does our muscle mass. You can counteract that with a brilliant strength and conditioning program, but women can't move. And I know that you'll be like, what? What do you mean women can't move? We have never been taught how to lift well. So you can't just bash them into a CrossFit space and expect them to be able to get the most out of that training. We have to be training people how to move brilliantly. And you need to also really say, right. So when I coach trainers on this, I'm like, we don't just do strength training for midlife women. We do strength training, breast health and pelvic health together, because all of those things have to be considered, and we can't just strength train at the consequence of these other things. And so if there was one thing that I would get, midlife women to do, it'd be lift weights, lift heavy weights, but that's hard, isn't it? If they don't know how to lift. And so how do we get them to do that? But strength training, and I think strength training is starting to kind of like come in as like the thing that is really popular, but gyms, again, they're like, they don't know what to do with a midlife woman. It's like, I don't know how to do this. Like, how do we coach her with all these injuries? She's just had babies. She's done this, that, everything else. How do we coach that kind of client? And for me, that's a very exciting opportunity. It shouldn't be something that people are worried about. It's like, all right, brilliant. We've got a new audience we can go after.
You've obviously worked with a lot of UK-based gym chains. Are you still seeing this kind of gender stereotyping of when men or women go to the gym? For instance, I was speaking to Dr. Stacey Sims recently, who says women are just kind of shown the cardio classes. Here are the bikes. Men, there's the barbells and the dumbbells. Are you still seeing that in UK gyms? Because obviously, if a woman wants to take better care of her health and makes that big decision, which if you've never been before is a huge decision to join a gym. If you're then kind of shepherded to one area, it's going to make it even then harder to do the type of training you've recommended.
Yes. And I also think we don't know what to do. So it's like, even if you've created an environment, which is kind of theoretically, don't like using the sort of gender neutral, and that you're like, it's kind of a place where women should be able to feel welcome. It's like, I don't know how to use the equipment. I don't know what to do. I know that when I get on the stepper or the treadmill, I just program in 20 minutes of intervals and it does it for me. So I'm kind of like, cool. Like, but actually, if I go into that space, like, what do I do? And going back to that conversation we just had about pre and postnatal, am I doing it right? Will I hurt myself? And it's the etiquette, isn't it, of a space? And I think if you don't, for people that get gyms, I would even, you've heard what my background is. If I went into a new gym space, a lifting space, I would still feel quite intimidated. I would be like, you want to make sure that you're not stepping on people's toes, that you're not like, you don't know what's the etiquette around taking weights on, putting weights back, lift, like, what is that? If you just contain to your own little bit of cardio, it's a lot easier, isn't it? And I think that, if you don't have the confidence, and most women don't have the confidence in lifting because we haven't had the background, then we need more than, here's a space there, everyone's welcome. It's like, no, we need to have specific classes. We need to be shown what to do. We need a trainer to come up to us and say, oh, like, are you all right? Can I help? Can I get you started? We need that.
And I guess this is where we've been critical of social media in our conversation so far, but where it certainly has popularised and made lifting weights seem a lot more achievable and glamorous even, because we're seeing so many young women lift weights and then older women come in that way. Whereas when I first started going to the gym, you just didn't see a woman in the gym, in the weights room at all. Are you continuing to see that change? And is that one of the areas you'd agree that actually social media maybe has been a force for good?
Yeah, apart from the films are always from on their bottom, aren't they? Do you know? It's always, I'm like, it's still, you know, there are some brilliant people on there on the socials that I follow. And I don't know if it's just the way that my stream is filtered, but generally the women are in sports bras and hot pants, and they are generally filming from the back. And it's still quite focused on the aesthetic. Even if the aesthetic has changed away from super skinny, it's still on that aesthetic. And it's like, I don't look like that. I don't look like that. And I definitely can't do a chin up. And, but it is, you know, still not quite right, is it? But it's kind of like getting a,
But yeah, that's exactly why I wanted to speak to you, Baz, because again, I'm trying to see the positive there, but because it's not directly affecting me, I can now totally see how this comes back to confidence, right? Which then plays into the mental health, which underpins almost everything we've spoken about. If the confidence isn't there and is lacking, doesn't matter what you see. And in many respects, what you see is actually hurting because I'm not capable of doing that. I don't look like that. I don't belong in a gym. And then that can reinforce this negative narrative of what someone can't do rather than what they should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think we need to get more real. We just need to get more real about, like, you don't look like that. You're never going to look like that. They look like that because they were born like that. That is the reality of the situation. They do not look like that because they go to the gym. Like, if they didn't go to the gym, they still, broadly speaking, look like that. And so, but that's what we need. That's what we need to hear. That's what we need to hear.